Kal Kadosh, Boker Or. Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Kaf Aleph Amud Aleph 21a. We are starting the second perek, the second chapter, perek sheni. Elu Metziot Shelo ve'elu shechayav leachriz. Which type of findings do they belong to you? Which means that you finders, keepers, losers, weepers, as they say. And which ones are you obligated to come and start announcing and saying, by the way, we have different things that I found, so you have to start announcing it in order to give it back. So, elu metziot shalom, perot mefuzarin. If you find fruits which are just scattered around, so therefore, obviously, the ba'alim probably already did yiyush, and therefore it's hefker, as the Gemara is going to explain. The same halacha would apply to ma'ot mefuzarim, right? Mefuzarot. What does that mean? You've got coins which are mefuzarot, and therefore, since there's no siman, because on coins there's no siman, so therefore, obviously, it's going to be hefker, because obviously, nitashu abalim. Krichot, right? When we're talking about small bundles of, let's say, shibonim the grains. Thank you. Right? So of grains. So therefore, also it's going to be birshut rabim, right? Which is going to be in a public place. Or iguled vela. Iguled vela was like the dried figs that they made it into like a type of a how do you call this? Of like a cake. Okay. Kikarot shel nachtom. Or we're talking about bread, right? Of a baker. Machrozot shel dagim. Or he comes and he says machrozot shel dagim is basically dagim, right? Which are stuck together in a chut. V'chatichot shel basar, or pieces of meat. Kized semer alukuchim imdinatan, or semer which is taken from the place where they actually grow after they come and they shear the wool. V'anitze pishtan, we're talking about now anitze pishtan, which is agudot shel pishtan, which is not going to be tavui. Ulshonot shel gaman, which is basically semer, right? Wool, which is going to be how do you call this? Combed. Okay. Harelu shelo. All these things, they belong to you. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Okay, until here we're Rabbi Meir. Okay, fine. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says, Kol sheyesh bo shinui. Yeah, Kol sheyesh bo shinui. Right? He comes and he says, anytime that it's going to be a shinui from the ragil, chayav lachriz. So, Keitzad, what's the case? Matzah igul uvtucho cheres. What happens if you found the igul of the vela, but inside of it was a piece of pottery? Or kikar uvtucho maot. You did find. We just said igul shel vela. We're talking about the dried figs. Okay, fine. Right? So he says, right? Or, for example, you found the bread, but inside the bread you had money. So Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, right? So basically, one more time, according to Rabbi Meir, any of these things basically was yush, right? Because basically you have no way of coming and having a siman on it, right? If you right now you come and you lose $1 bill, right? Let's even pretend it's $100 bill, so you're not going to say kapara. But what's the siman? You memorize the barcode, like the serial number. Like, well, what's the siman? You understand? There's no siman. So he comes and he says, but says Rabbi Yehuda, if there's a shinui, so the shinui in itself is called, you're obligated to mention it. So again, you did find the igul shel vela. Now there's hundreds of cakes of figs, dried figs. No, but inside of it you had a piece of pottery. So therefore, the piece of pottery inside of it was something weird. It's a shinui, huh? Pottery, cheres, yeah. Okay, so you have a piece of pottery inside. So he comes and he says, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Kol kele amporia, right? Any type of a utensil. Okay? Right, we're going to say why is it called amporia. We're going to see, the Gemara is going to explain in Kaf Gimel Amud Bet. Right, what is a kli amporia? We're going to speak about it over there. But there it says, En chayav lachriz, you're not obligated to come and to mention it. Okay? Fine. Until here we're clear? Says the Gemara, Matzah perot mefuzarin. If a person comes and he finds fruits which are dispersed, kama. What does that mean? With how many amot is it considered dispersed? Because we said that the fruits were dispersed. What does it mean dispersed? What? In 2 amot, in 10 amot, in 50 amot. What does it mean dispersed? Amar Rabbi Yitzhak, says Rabbi Yitzhak, kav be'arba amot. When you have a kav of fruits, okay, now this kav of fruits is basically going to be the volume of 24 beitzim. So it's between 1.4 liters and 2.4 liters. Okay, so 1.5 liters, let's say. Okay? And within Daled Amot. Okay, so that's going to be yours. Right? But if it's going to be a kav in a smaller like let's say shalosh amot exactly, 3 amot. So then not you have to actually give it back because that's not considered dispersed. Okay, so says the Gemara, Hechidami. What's the case of our Mishnah? Iderech nefila. If right now you come and you realize that they weren't put there bechavana, they fell. So afila tuvanami. So therefore, even if it's going to be much more than a kav of perot, that they're not going to be mefuzarim kol kach, it still belongs to him because there's no siman. And for sure, they probably fell. And the guy, there's yush. That's it. Somebody's going to find it. Even if you find them, you're going to... No, I remember that this fruit had on the side a little tiny... I don't know what. You think the guy remembers. He's got hundreds of fruits. So you think he knows every single fruit. If it's somebody placed it there, meaning it didn't just fall. Somebody came and bechavana placed it there. So even if it's going to be in pachom mikav, right? Also, it should be... not considered, how do you call this? It's not considered mefuzarim, so you're not allowed to take it then. Meaning, if you could tell that somebody placed it there, so even if it's going to be less than a kav, because we said, what is considered, if it's a kav, within 4 amot. But let's say it's going to be less, so it's always going to be asur. So, Amar Rav Ukva Bar Chama, says Rav Ukva Bar Chama, he comes and he says, B'machnashta debe dare askinan. We're talking about during the time of the gathering of the grains from the granot, from the storage houses. So therefore, what happens? Kav be'arba amot, if it's going to be 1 kav and 4 amot, then nafi shetar chayu, which there's a lot of torach to gather them all together. Lo tarech inish, a person's not going to come and do it. V'lo hadar ati v'shakilu, he's not going to get it anymore. Afkurem afkiru, so he just makes it hefker. But sir miyachi, but if it's going to be less than that, tarich, right? It means basically if there's a kavan less than that amount of space, right? Tarich v'adar ati v'shakilu, he's going to go get it, v'lo mafkilu, which means like this. The smaller the area, the easier it is to collect the fruits. If you're going to tell me now that you have 2 meters to come in, 2 meters is big. So if you're going to come, you have to take a kav, which is a lot of liters. So you're going to, so there the guy's going to say, kapara. Okay. Mafkir. If it's going to be less, he's not going to be mafkir, right? This thing. By Rabbi Yirmiyah, so Rabbi Yirmiyah is going to ask the following question. Chatzi kav b'shtei amot. We said 1 kav in 4 amot. And if we said if it's going to be 1 kav in 3 amot, obviously you don't make it hefker. What about half? Half. Chetzi. Zot omeret, dibarnu al kav al 4 amot. 1 kav equals 4 amot. What happens if I do half? Half a kav on 2 amot. That's the question. Meaning, I know that if it's going to be less than a kav or less than that of amot, one second. I already told you that if you already have less than a kav, right? So we said that it's going to be ifker. If it's going to be a kav on less than 4 amot, you have to give it back. Why? Because that means we already know the general rules. But when I do exactly half, what's halacha right now? What's halacha? So kav b'arba amot, the reasoning is because 1 kav and arba amot tamamai. What's the reasoning? Because it's a lot of tircha to come and to start gathering it in such a big shetach. Chetzi kav v'shtei amot. But when you have a half of a kav in the 2 amot, there's not going to be so much of a tircha. Yeah? So I would have thought to say that what? You don't make it what? You don't make it into efker. Yeah? You're not going to make it into efker. Or dilma. Or maybe. Yeah? Or maybe. He comes and he says, yeah, mishum de lo chashive. Is it because it's not going to be chashuv? V'chatzi kav b'shtei amot, kev de lo chashiv mafkiru. And the same thing, it's going to be half a kav. Meaning like this, one more time.
Kav is a measure of the...
Yes, a kav we said was either 1.4, no, it's 1.4, it's a measurement. 1.4 liters or 2.4 liters. Machloke grachnai and chazonish. So one more time. We spoke about the size, meaning the space. So we said that if it's going to be in Daled Amot, right? So if it's going to be in such a big space, it's a lot of tircha. And since it's going to be a lot of tircha, so therefore it's not normal, right? And therefore it's too much of a how do you call this? It's too much of a tircha. If it's going to be in 2 amot, there's no tircha, right? There's much less tircha because it's mamash, it's within your hand's reach. So there's less tircha. Or do you say it's because of chashivut? Meaning 1 kav is chashuv, right? You're not going to just say it's hefker. It's like if a person drops a penny, now the majority of people won't even pick it up. Penny, they're going to come and start, if it's going to be $1, it's already, you know what, they'll come and pick it up. Yeah, fine. So, but the concept though is, right, is that is you're going to say is it chashuv or is it going to say because of the tircha? So we don't answer it. Okay, we don't answer it. So one more time, half a kav in 2 amot. We have 2 ways of looking at it. Are you looking at it that it's 2 amot and not 4, so there's not a lot of tircha, so you're not going to be mafkid, or the opposite, that since it's only half a kav, it's not chashuv, and therefore you're going to be mafkid. Okay, but it's only by a kav do you say that you're not mafkid. 2 ways of looking at it, we don't have an answer. Second question, kabaim b'shmone amot. Go the other way around. We said 1 kav in 4 amot, so you're not going to be mafkid. Okay, but what happens if it's going to be kabaim, 2 kavs in 8 amot? What's halacha? Yeah? Which one?
If for one
Well,
kav
you
and
have-
4
you have-
amot is already tied to
Why? Because of the...
2 times the measure and 2 times the surface.
Again, use the svara of the Gemara. Ribono shel olam. One more time. If you're going to go in the space, there's a much bigger tircha in the space. So then you guys are correct. Meaning, if in 4 amot, I already said it's too big of a deal, and therefore I'm going to make it hefker. Kavachomer, if we're talking about 8, then I'm going to make it hefker. But you have twice the amount. So are you going to be mafkir? Maybe you would only mafkir 1 kav. Because 1 kav, you say kapara. It's only 1.5 liters. But it's going to be 3 liters. It's kol ka chashuv. So again, always try to use the svarot of the Gemara. Meaning, exactly, so that's why we've got both sides. That's why the Gemara is asking the question. If it was so simple, the Gemara wouldn't have asked it. Yeah, so therefore, obviously, we have to understand both sides of the coin. So says the Gemara, kav be'arba amot tamamai. What is the reason why when you have 1 kav and 4 amot that you're going to say he's going to be mafkid? Mishum denafish tirchayu, because you have a lot of tircha. Ve'kol sheken kabayim mishmone amot. All the more so when you have 2 kavs and 8 amot, because it's nafish tirchayu tfei, because it's much bigger. It's a bit bigger volume. It's a much bigger space. Mafkilu, so you're going to make it efked. Or dilmar maybe because the kav in 4 amot is mishum de lo chashiv, but it's not chashuv. Aval kabayim, but when it's going to be 2 kavs, even though the space is bigger, but it's much more important, given the chashiv, you're not going to make it afker. So again, we don't give an answer. Okay? So again, the second case, also, we don't give an answer. Third case, kav shumshemin be'arba amot mahu. What happens when you have a kav of shumshemin? Shumshemin are like sesame seeds. Yeah? So you have the shumshum in 4 amot. What's halacha? Right now, we have to understand now why. Because here we're talking about kav and arba amot. Right? So we're talking about kav and arba amot. We already said that it is. Says the Gemara. Kav be'arba amot. The reason why we said the kav arba amot hamamai mishum de lo chashiv was it's not going to be chashuv. V'shum shemim et shum shemin is very, very yakar. So therefore they're chashiv lo mafkir. You weren't making hefker. Or dilmar maybe mishum de nefash dechayu, since it's even much bigger tircha, because obviously they're small. The kol sheken shum shemin, given that the nefash dechayu tfei, it's even more of a tircha because it's even smaller. So mafkilu. So maybe you are making it more hefker. So basically, again, we keep on using the same concept. Which one is the more important, the chashivut or the space, the tircha, the work for it? Meaning, again, obviously that translates into space, but it means the tircha, the work going into it. Again, third doubt, no answer. Okay? Fourth doubt, kav tamreh. We're talking about a kav of tmarim in 4 amot. Kav rimoneh be'arba amot, or a kav of rimonim in 4 amot. What's halacha? Sorry. Do we say a kav in 4 amot? Tamamai, what's the reasoning why you're going to be mafkid is mishum de lo chashiv, it's not chashuv. But kav tamre barba amot, kav rimoneh barba amot, nami kevin de lo chashiv, it's not chashuv. You're going to make it efker, meaning that rimonim and the tamarim are going to be just like the same as the grain, and therefore you're going to make it efker. Odin mar maybe mishum de nafish tarchayu, because there was a lot of torach. The kav tamre barba amot, the kav rimoneh barba amot, kevin de lo, it's not a lot of torach. Lo mafkilu, it's not efker, meaning the grains, since they're very skinny, right, and it's going to be dispersed upon the 4 amot, it's a lot of tircha. Dates, or rimonim, even much more, right, but even if we're talking about the dates, right, but these things, they're bigger. So it's not that big of a tircha. Meaning, it could be it's not chashuv just like the grain, but at the end of the day, but it's not such a much of a tircha. So the same question. So the Gemara is going to ask, what's halacha? Do you say that at 1 kav in 4 amot are you going to be mafkid or not? Because again, here you do not have the chashivut, meaning the chashivut is the same as the grain, but you don't have the tircha. The other ones we were talking about, for example, the shum shamim was the chashivut. They were chashuv, but you have worse tircha. Here you have the same chashivut, but less tircha. So that's why it's not the same question that we asked before to do with the shum shamim. Okay? Yes, that's what you said. That was the word. The word was shibolim. So answers the Gemara, teiku. So again, we had 4 different sfekot, right? We said in the Mishnah was 1 kav in 4 amot, mafkir. We asked, what about half in 2 amot? We asked, what about 2 kavs in 8 amot? Then we asked 1 kav but of shum shemin in 4 amot. And then we asked 1 kav of dates or rimonim in 4 amot. In each one we had, whether it's the tircha, which was more or less, or we had the chashivut, which was more or less, and therefore at the end we just come out with teiku. We don't have an answer. Okay, until here we're clear? Okay. Itmar. 2 dots. Itmar was stated. The bottom of Kaf, right now Kaf Aleph Amud Bet, 21b. Itmar was stated. Yeush Shelo midat. There's a machloket, right, to do with the concept of Yeush Shelo midat, which means that when you find the chefetz, that means stam they did actually have Yeush when they find out about it. But when you found it, they didn't know about it. Yeah? By the way that the Chochmei Musar learned this concept is the way how you read it is Yeush Shelo midat. It means if a person already gave up hope, it means that he doesn't have a dat. It doesn't exist that a person should give up hope. That's the way the Chochmei Musar, they learn. Yush Shelo midat. It can't be let. But the question though in the Gemara is for example, let's say you drop this pencil. You see the pencils over there? You dropped 1 pencil. You probably give up hope, correct? It looks like any other pencil. There's no name on it. There's no nothing. You give up hope. So if it is that you find out that it got lost, you would have given up hope. But now when I found it, you didn't give up hope. Not because you wouldn't give up hope, it's just because you didn't know that it dropped from you. So that's the question. Yush Shelo midat means, in a case that you would have been miya'ish, you would have given up hope, but right now you just didn't give up hope because you didn't know that you lost it. Now, if you do find out that you lost it, you're going to say kapara. You understood? Okay? Until you're clear. So that's the concept of Yush Shelo midat. Okay, which means that it wasn't dat Baalim here, because the Baalim didn't even know that they lost it. You're right, if you tell them that they lost it, they would tell you Kaddish. There's nothing what to do. But until now, they didn't know that they lost it. Abaye comes and he says, Lo avi Yush, it's not considered Yush. And Rava comes and he says, it is considered Yush. So now, we're going to actually explain, so even before explaining the reasoning of Abaye and Rava, because again, it's a machloket Abaye and Rava, even before explaining the reasoning, we're going to try to say, what's the case? So, Bedavar sheyesh bo siman, if it's that it does have a siman, everybody agrees that it's not going to be yush. Because if you have a siman, why are you going to give up hope? If you lost that pencil, but on that pencil you had a sticker on it, and it says, John Doe. So why are you going to have a yush? Everyone finds it, he's going to see your name. You have your name and grade or whatever it is, your phone number, and v'gamarnu. And even if we're going to hear that you did have yush at the end, right, when you did find out about it, it's still not considered yush. Was when it did come to the guy's hand, it came to his hand which means that he wasn't able to be zuchenet yet. Because when the guy found it, there was still no yush. He didn't even know about it. So therefore, since the guy didn't know about it, even if at the end he does actually give up hope, but if there's a siman, it's nothing. It's was when he found out, he was not miyamesh. Meaning, when the guy is going to know, he's not going to have yush. So Meimar Amar, but he could say to himself, Siman, I have got a siman. So you have no siman. I'm just going to give the siman. I'm going to take it, right? I give my siman, and that's it. Okay. On the other hand, right? Bezuto shel yam u'shluluto shel na'an. When we're talking about the zuto shel yam u'shluluto shel na'an, which means that basically the water comes up and it takes everything with it. Yeah. Even though it does have a siman, Rahman Ashari, the Torah permitted it, just like the Gemara is going to say later on, which means we already know that, let's say there's like a type of a tsunami type of thing, and the tsunami comes and takes everything with it. So even if it has a siman, people give up hope on it. Because bichlal, how are they even going to find it? the yam just took it. It could be in Honolulu by now. You know, like they don't know where it's going. So therefore, even though there is a siman, you give up hope on it. Okay, so the Gemara is asking, what's the case? If it's talking about that it has a siman, so then you don't give up hope. And therefore the guy cannot even keep it. And everybody agrees, whether it's going to be Abaye and Rava. Now if it's talking about that it was a zuto shel yam or shluluto shel nahar, that means basically the water came up, right? That means the mea yam, obviously that's zuto shel yam, shluluto shel nahar means the water comes up and it just take everything with it. So therefore, what do you want then? So what is the machloket then between Abaye and Rava? Ki pligi, the machloket is b'davar she'en bo siman, when it's something that does not have a siman. Abaye says it's not considered a yush. Tehalo yadad nefa mineh. He can never have yush because he doesn't know that it fell from him. So if he doesn't know that it fell from him, how is he going to have yush? And Rava says that it is going to be yush. Delechi yadad nefa mineh miyayesh, because when he finds out, he is going to be miyayesh. So therefore, I'm going like ala atid. I already know he's going to be miyayesh. You're right. Right now, he doesn't know about it. So he's not. But I know in the future that's what's going to happen. So Meimar Amar, right, when he's going to say to himself, Simana lele bigava, I don't have a siman, so me'ash doesn't me'ash. So therefore, even from now, he's already going to be me'ash. Why? Because automatically, if there's no siman, what's the chances of him coming and getting it back? Okay? Fine. So now we're going to be by the Tashema, but there's a siman in brackets, by the way. That siman is basically the mnemonic for everything that we're going to be speaking about. So like the pei of the siman of Pamgash, so the pei is for perot, mem is maot, gimel is igulei develot, shin is lishonot shel gaman, then it's motze maot, mematai, kitziot, you know, so each one is like a mnemonic for what we're going to be speaking about in the future of the Gemara. Many times they made different mnemonics, different signs, simanim, in order to come and to remember what's going on. So Tashema, so we're going to bring the first one. The first one is we're going to try to bring a proof to the Machloket, Abaye, and Rava. So now one more time, even before getting to the reasoning Abaye and Rava, right, we actually came and we said, what is a Machloket exactly? Okay, and then we explained, right, the reasoning behind it. Okay, so Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Perot mefuzarin, right, when you have fruits which are scattered, ha lo yadadana famineh. Right? When we learned in our Mishnah was you found fruits that were scattered. Now, he doesn't know that it fell from him. And still, right, when we find out that he was mityash mehem, since it doesn't have a siman, it belongs to you. So now 1 second, but he wasn't mityash because he didn't even know that it fell. So therefore, if our Mishnah says you're allowed to keep it, so that's a proof that we go like Rava, that it's considered yush. Yeah, so that means we're going like Rava. Because our Mishnah was talking about yush. He didn't know that he lost it. And still the finders, weepers, losers, keepers. So if you could keep it, it means that we were going like Rava. Answers the Gemara. Here in our Mishnah, we're talking about Machnashta de Bizri Askinan. We're talking about during the time of the Asifat Tvua from the Granot, which means you're collecting the grain from the Granot, from the storage houses, right? And therefore, right, Daveda Midati. So therefore it comes out that he put it there, Midat. And therefore, since he doesn't want to come back to get it, to pick it up, that's considered hefker. Meaning, it's not that it's shalom midat. That is midat, because meaning that the fact that you're coming and you're getting the main types of the grain, and then you come and you put it down there, so therefore you already know. So you're making it hefker. So it's not that like a shalom midat. Zemidat. You're putting it there bechavara, right? And you don't really care about it because you're taking the main part of the grain and you leave a little bit behind. Big deal. Okay. So Tashema, so we're going to bring in now another thing. This was the mem, ma'ot mefuzarim. If you found money, so again, this is the Mishnah, our Mishnah, and it says you belongs to you. Now why? He doesn't know that he lost the money. Meaning, if a guy doesn't know that he loses the money, it's you, shalom midat. And the fact that we said that you could keep the money, that's a proof like Rava. And so Hatanami also over there, it's like Rabbi Yitzchak that he says, Adam asul mashmesh bekiso b'chol shah v'shah. People check their money every 2 seconds, and therefore Achinam is so to here. So therefore, mistama, he already knows that he lost the money, meaning that the guy knows that he lost his money or his thing very, very quickly. It doesn't take a long time. You understand? It's like nowadays the phone. How long does it take for a person to realize that he lost his phone? 30 seconds, right? 20 seconds. Yeah, it's like all the time that he's connected to it. So therefore, right, once they're connected to it, so therefore they don't. He knows about it right away. It's not like he doesn't know about it. Okay. Third raya from the Mishnah also, Tashema, Igulei Devela, Da'im, right, the Kikarot shel Nachtom, and the Kikarot of Nachtom, it belongs to you. Now why? Amai, Velo, he doesn't know about it. So he says, Hatanami, there are also Agav Diakide, since it's going to be Kaved, right? I mean, zizi guled vila in the kikarot or kaved made the yadbu. You already know that it fell, which means that, right? It's like, for example, you've got a heavy burden, and also you have a lighter burden. You're like, something's wrong, something's missing. So same thing, right? If you're carrying something heavy and I take it away, so that means you realize that right away the how do you call it, the difference in the weight. Okay, another proof from the Mishnah, leshonot shel argaman, right? The Mishnah says leshonot shel argaman arelu shelo, they belong to you. Why? You didn't know that it fell. Hatanami agad chashiv, since they're kol kach chashuv, because it's very expensive. You're always feeling it out with Rabbi Yitzchak, meaning certain things are so expensive, you always want to make sure that you're touching it. So if right away you're going to find out, and therefore you obviously know about it, then it's not considered you shalomidat. Okay, Tashema. We're going to try to bring another proof, but now this is not from the Mishnah anymore. This is from a Braita. The Braita says, "Hamotze ma'ot b'vatei knesset." Imagine you find money in a Bet Knesset or a Bet Midrash, uv'chol makom sharabim mitzuyim sham, or any place which is a public domain. Harelu shelo, they belong to you. Why? Neshbali mityashim, because they give up hope on it. Ve'alo yidad elfabine, but he doesn't know that it fell. So answers the Gemara. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Yitzchak, Adam asui lemashmesh bikiso b'chol shah. The same answer as Rabbi Yitzchak. A person's always checking his money. And the fact that he's checking his money, so therefore that's how he knows, right, that he actually did lose it. Says the Gemara, Tashema, another Braita. Sorry, this is a Mishnah Pe'ah. Okay, because before that was a Braita about if you find money in the Bet Knesset, Bet Midrash. Now we're talking about in a Mishnah. Me'matai kol adam mutarim beleket. From when is everybody permitted in leket? You remember we already learned this in Kinyan Masechta. Very good, right? Chasra. Fine. She'elchu ba nemushot. So he said, what does that mean? She'elchu ba nemushot. It means that from the nemushot are going to come, and they're going to, means once the nemushot finish coming, then everybody's allowed to take the leket. Remember, leket shichal peah goes to the aniyim, but after the nemushot come, now everybody's allowed to come and take the leket. V'amnina, what are the nemushot exactly? V'amar Rabbi Yochanan says, sabe de'az atigra. We're talking about the zekinim that they go on their cane, right? And they see every single shibolet and shibolet. You understand? That's them. But the Shakish comes and says, Lakute beta lakute. You remember it was the son after the father, or whatever it is, or the father after the son. That basically the father is coming collecting, and his son is right behind him, and he's collecting as well behind him. So therefore, in that case, those are called the nemushot. So once the nemushot come and they take, so from then on, everybody could take from the leket. Well, yeah, machloket, Rabbi Yochanan or Shakish. Yeah, and that's what we also learned in Masechta. So says the Gemara, but according to everybody, once the nemushot passed by, now everybody could take the leket. So says the Gemara, but why? It could be that there are aniyim that are going to have yush, but there are aniyim in other places that they don't know about that. Meaning like this, you're there, so you see that the nemushot are coming. You either see the guy with the old cane, right, the old guy with the cane coming, or you see the father and the son collecting one after another. You see it. So you have yush. You're the ani, which is around the field. But there's another ani in, I don't know where. He doesn't know that they came the nemushot. So why in the world are you going to say that there's a yush for all the aniyim that now everybody could come and they could collect? Doesn't make sense. Why are you going to collect? Yeah, why should you be able to collect? It's yush shalomidat. So says the Gemara, right? Amri answers the Gemara, Kevan di kanim hacha, since there's aniyim here, hanach mikara yush miyisha, the aniyim in other places already have yush. Meaning, if there's aniyim right now in Boca, now they know that there are aniyim here in, let's say, in Biskin Point. Yeah, that they're coming, they're collecting. So automatically they have yush because they already know that there are aniyim here. So that aniyim, they automatically have the yush. So therefore, if the aniyim here have yush, that's already enough. Because the aniyim over there, for sure, they already had a yush because they already know there's somebody collecting it over here. Okay. The amri, and they tell them aniyim dehatam, but they're going to say the aniyim over there, they're going to collect it. It's not going to be for them. Fine. Another proof from a Mishnah, Masechet Ma'asrot, Tashema, Ketziot baderech. We're talking about dried figs, right? Baderech on the path. Fafilu betzad sedek ketziot. Even if it's going to be beside a sedek ketziot or te'ena hanotel derech, which is or figs that are going to be not dried but regular figs, right? Umatza te'enim tachtea. You find other figs beneath them. Mutarot. They're going to be permitted mishum gezel, right? There's no isur of gezel. Ubturo mina maaser, and it's going to be patur for maaser, but it's hefker. Bezetim v'charuvim, but if it's going to be zetim and charuvim, right, that you're going to find perot underneath them, it's going to be asur. Now, one second. Let's try to analyze this Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, one more time, if you have dried figs, that's why it's called ketziot. Ketziot are dried figs. Tenim are regular figs, right? And ketziot is dried figs. Yeah? No, the devila is the cake, the cake. But the ketziot is the tenim, right? But the ketziot is dried figs, right? One more time. Te'ena is a regular fig. Ketziot is tenim yubashot, right? Dried figs. Igul shel devila is basically a cake of dried figs. Okay? Okay? So he comes and he says like this. He says ketziot. So a person came and he found ketziot baderech, even if it's going to be beside it tzedek ketziot, or te'ena, which is not eladerech, and you found beneath them te'enot, it's going to be permitted. Right? There's no problem of gezel, no problem of maaser because it's ifker, but zetim v'charuvim, no. So says the Gemara like this. Bishlam reisha la'abaye lokashia. I understand the reisha is not a question on abaye. Why? Agav de chashive mimash meshubu. Because we already said that they're chashuvim. So if it's chashuv, you already know that you lost it. You remember that was the yisod. The yisod was anything which is chashuv, you're always touching it, and therefore automatically you know that you lost it. Te'ena nami, right? And also, even in the case of a te'ena, made the yedi'a denatra, right? You knew that it already fell. And therefore, you already know what's going on. But the seifa is a question to Rava. Why? That means this is the first time that we're flipping. We're not asking a question on Abaye, we're asking a question to Rava. What was the question of Rava? Tiktani zetim v'charuvim, it's going to be asur. Now, why is it going to be asur? If the Baalim didn't know about it yet, but still, when they find out about it, they're going to have yush. So if according to Rava, why did he say that it's asur? Why is it asur? It should be mutar. There's yush. They don't know about it, fine. But according to Rava, yush elomidat is still considered yush. So answers the Gemara. Amar Yavu says Yavu shan and zait is different. They know that it came from this tree. Even though they're coming down from the tree, made the yediyah duchte dinish inishu, right? Because the mekomos shel adam is adam, which means the zaitim which are found in a certain place are nikar, that it's shayach to him, and therefore he never had yush. Which means the fact that it came down and it was right beside the tree, we know that it belongs to that tree. Because just like Mekomos Shel Adam is a makom, so too the makom of the zaitim, right? What did you ask?
Before he said if there is.
So the Gemara says, Ihachi, if you're going to tell me that the place of a person is the person, meaning you just said no. So zaitim and the charuvim, it's you know that it comes from that tree. So what was the reisha then? The reisha was the exact same thing. Salam shows that the reisha said it was talking about a te'ena betzad stei ketziot, or a te'ena notel derech, which means that you have the etz te'ena, and you have that it's inside your field, and it's part of the etz te'ena is coming on the outside in the Reshut Rabim, and you have the te'ena underneath the ketziot, and still we said it's going to be mutar. So what's the difference? Why is it that the te'ena is one halacha, right? That's basically it's going to be mutar to take it, and the zitim charuvim asur. So Amar Rav Papa says te'ena im nefilata nimeset, right? Which means that the te'ena, when it falls, it becomes disgusting. So ever since it becomes disgusting, so therefore the Baalim immediately become miyaesh. Once they become miyaesh, so therefore you're allowed to take it. If you're not disgusted with it, you want to take it, B'chavo, take it and do whatever you want with it. Right? But usual, meaning the usual of a te'ena is that the second that it falls, you're not going to take it anymore. The zetim, it could fall, nothing happens to it. It's the exact same as if it was on the tree. Right? But here, there's a difference to it. So Tashma, we're going to just bring the last proof. Basically, if he's going to bring a proof to Rava, when you have a ganav that he took from one person and he gave it to another person, or a gazlan that he took from one person and gave it to another person, or yarden that he went up, he took from one person and gave it to another person, natal, right? There's a shem nahar in Eretz Yisrael. Right? That again, that it went up. Right? Just like we spoke about before. Allah, Alta Naha, right? Yes. Yeah. No. And then it comes and it took from one person and gave to another person, right? Natal Mashenatan, right? Exactly. So Mashenatan, Natal, whatever it gave. That means it's it. So the Gemara is going to ask what's the difference between them, and this we're going to speak to Bezrat Hashem tomorrow.